For an entire generation, people have experienced Star Wars the only way it's been possible, on the TV screen. But if you've only seen it this way, you haven't seen it at all.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
We've been waiting for you.
This is Joa.
And this is Mike Rondo,
co-host of the Cantina Cast.
And you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z and Corey Clubb. This is the podcast you're looking for. See,
do we need a countdown?
Come on, man.
Want to count down?
2,
3. This is the
podcast you're looking for.
Here we go.
Professional.
This is
the podcast
you're looking for. Mike, you messed it up.
I can't help it. I can't do it. All right, now let's do it for serious. Yeah.
We got the first part. Let's just do the last part.
No. We'll do it. Ready? We're going to do it on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. This is the podcast you're looking for.
We would like to welcome 2 big talents in the world of Star Wars podcasting, Joao and Mike from the Cantina Cast. Joe and Mike have been gracious enough to join us for our very first coffee chat to talk some Star Wars memories, and podcasting. If you check out our webpage, you will see that we were fortunate enough to be on episode 34 of the Cantina Cast, and we have had to have the guys on to share a cup of coffee with us. Welcome, Joe and Mike.
Well, hello there.
Hello.
Did I steal your line there, Joe? Sorry. Anyway.
Yeah, you didn't do it as good as me.
That's true.
We've got the old magic still.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we talked about this before the show, but Corey and I wanted to have a show out. It's been a while, and we're trying to think about things to do before we moving along. And we haven't never had a coffee chat where we just shoot the breeze and talk Star Wars. And since we're all Wookiee Life Debt buddies on Star Wars podcasting, we thought we've got to have the Cantina Cast on. And everyone, again, let me put a plug. We put another link on our show today on our website, www.coffeewithkenobi.com. But we're on episode 34 of the Cantina Cast and had a great time. Corey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much fun would you say that was?
Oh, it's a 12. That's a 12.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Guys, You're humbling me. Thank you, guys.
No, it's a good time. I think it's always good for, guys get together and talk about Star Wars and the goings-on and whatever the topic may be. I think it's a good time.
Right.
Absolutely.
And we've got plenty to discuss. Let's talk about podcasting in general. I think a lot of people who listen to the show, I know myself personally, I got inspired by Ed Dallista and the IndieCast into starting a podcast of our own. Corey and I have talked about that a little bit. But what got you guys into podcasting? What do you like about it? What do you listen to? All that good stuff.
Well, our humble beginnings began one day. I was drinking with my buddy Brian on his porch there, and we've both been getting excited about the Star Wars: The Old Republic video game that was coming out and stuff. And I'd been listening to Jimmy Mack and Jason on their podcast and stuff, and they've always I said, if they can do it, I know I can do it. I just didn't have anyone to really do this with, and I had no idea what I was getting into anyway. So I convinced and conned my friend Brian, who I grew up with, to do the podcast because he liked video games. I like Star Wars. I'm like, oh, what a perfect combination. We'll get together and we'll go from there. Well, things started out pretty good. And then, the video game stunk and Brian went his way. I went my way. And so I was just sitting around for a while. And then Joe and I decided to team up again. And here we are. And, 37 episodes we're going to be this open weekend. So
37 plus a couple of little micro casts and stuff. So we're up actually probably closer to 40 at this point. So
wow,
true.
Now, Mike and Joe, maybe I missed this, but how do you two know each other specifically?
Joe, I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah,
is this safe? Remember, we're a
I've never even met Mike in person, and we probably won't meet, I guess, until
when we all meet.
I'm going to call it C7, so it's just easier than saying Anaheim every time. But it was basically on Twitter. I actually had worked with a particular Star Wars: The Old Republic website a little bit. And my wife, Rachel, she was copy editing for that same site. We both kind of split ways with them. She wasn't as into looking forward to the video game as much as I was, even though she did play it with me after it did release. But she was just more in it because she was a journalist and actually had a bachelor's degree from Ball State and all that for journalism. And she was doing it just for kind of the experience. It was almost like a little internship because we obviously didn't get paid for it or anything. They had a podcast and stuff on the website I was never involved in anything like that, but I always had, so much to say, so many opinions. And so I wanted to get on, and after my tenure kind of ended with them, I was just on Twitter and I was just talking with the community, mostly the tour community, as we call it. Mm-hmm. And I was just involved with it. And Mike was networking his butt off, trying to just get people to follow him on Twitter. And he was just racking people up. I mean, it seemed like a few weeks they had gone from like nothing to like 700 followers on Twitter.
Nice.
And he was just networking, just getting to know everybody in the community. And I said, hey guys, they'd already done a couple episodes. I listened to them. And I said, hey, if I've been following this game for years and years, even in its infancy of rumors, I was like, I'd love to come on just like as a guest. I was like, I know I'm not anybody in the community. Nobody's going to know my name, but I think I could add a perspective. And I came on for a one-time deal, and I pretty much said after the show, I was like, I don't know if y'all were looking for anybody, but I'd, love to do it as the third host. We ended up talking more and more about Star Wars every episode, and not the game, and well, the game too, but it just spiraled. His friend Brian there, he wasn't as much into the Star Wars stuff, and in fact, I think the Star Wars community and its, how fanatical it can be, it kind of turned him off a little bit. I don't want to speak for him, but I think that's kind of what happened. And in some of the shows, it was just me and Mike. And then, towards the game coming out, I don't remember what happened. I left the show for other reasons, and then got a hold of Mike again, and I was like, let's just start this back up and just talk about Star Wars. And
I remember when you did that too.
Yeah, and he was like, let's do it. And like, I think in 2 weeks we were recording, and we had all kinds of technical difficulties that first episode.
Sounds like us.
I understand.
We weren't. I think I didn't push the record button a couple times.
Oh, that's happened.
It was messy, but
that's the first.
But basically, that's how we came back to this. And over time, I think we both bought equipment. We both put more and more money into it to try to make everything better. So, that's basically kind of the origins and the start of where we're standing today. Anyway, with the format of the show.
So, Mike, what's your side of the podcasting as far as getting on with the Cantina Cast, and obviously you're making network connections around the internet. So,
well, I was back in the day when we first started this. I was networking like crazy. Lately, I've been due to personal reasons, I haven't really been networking like you guys seem to be doing an excellent job at it. Okay. Me on the other hand, I've kind of been just laying back, and eventually I'll get my my stuff together, and I'll get on that as well. But yeah, that's just how I got to know. That's how Mark Newbold from Jedi News, he kind of same thing as Joe had just emailed us, said, hey, I'd like to be on the show, and it went from there. And of course, Joe knew Trisha from the panel, and then she came on, and then we got in touch with you guys. So what I like about it is getting to know people like you guys, having you guys come on the show. And Joe and I kind of were going through a lot of stuff in our lives, so we kind of have this is kind of like helping us heal in a sense, so that we have this podcast and we talk about Star Wars.
Absolutely.
And stuff like that. What I don't like about it is trying to come up with a show, trying to figure out what we're going to talk about.
I would say I've probably kind of taken over that part of it a lot of times now. Not that Mike doesn't do a tremendous amount. I mean, he'll lead the show most times. He's just better at that. He's better at leading me because I like to ramble a little bit. So he's more. I think he's more like the
ringleader.
Well, he's like the play-by-play guy, sort of, and then I'm like the color guy. Sometimes.
He's Summerall and you're Madden. Is that what you're saying?
No.
No.
Boom.
No Madden impressions. I don't know. I haven't worked on my Madden impression. I don't know if I could do that one.
We got to keep some stuff for Sweeps Week. Those are the gold stars. So Corey, I'm going to just interview you too because hey, why not?
Okay, sure, why not?
You tell me. I think we covered pretty much in our first show, but one of the things I don't know about you, what do you love about podcasting and making our show?
I think it's unique. Like Mike was saying, it's like you get to meet all kinds of different people, fans, celebrities, anybody. I mean, anybody just contacts us and says, "Hey, let's be on your show." And we're blown away by anybody that contacts us, and I think that's a great thing to have as far as fandom goes. I mean, we can kind of get all these ideas out in the open, and we can talk about anything we want to, and basically just enjoy ourselves.
Well, for me, I've been a podcasting fan for a long time. Right back from Celebration 5. I just started working about 45 minutes from where I lived. I was in the car all the time, and I got sick of hearing the same albums over and over again. So I discovered podcasts, and I found out that there are different categories of things that I enjoyed. So there's one guy, Ed Dallister from the IndieCast. Every single email that I sent, he read. He ended up making me the official IndieCast fan club president. I was on show 159 with him, and he was just cool, and he just kept inspiring me. And I thought, I want to have a podcast, but I had no podcasting, credibility to my name besides listening to a lot of them. Corey and I were starting to hang out and become really good friends, and our conversations were such that we would all often say, we should be recording this. This should be a podcast. Then we invested in microphones, and Ed sent me a bunch of stuff about how to make a podcast. We were looking at YouTube stuff. I was taking tutorial classes online about how to do podcasting. Corey and I were talking about it, and he said, let's call it Coffee with Kenobi, because we were going to do a comic book, this overall geek podcast, but Star Wars just kept coming up, and of all the things I love, I mean, I could easily have a Superman or a Batman podcast or comics, and Corey and I could easily go crazy with that. It sounds like you guys could too. But there's just something about Star Wars that resonates with me deeply in my soul, and that's what we're going to talk about later, and we've kind of hinted around to. I'm sure, hopefully you guys are the same way we do. When we hear that you have a new show on, I can't wait to download it, so that's pretty cool.
Well, thank you. That's very humbling. Of course, there's only a few podcasts that I listen to that are Star Wars related. Rebel Force Radio, and I don't listen to us because I can't stand my own voice, so I don't listen to us. But
all right, so here's the thing. We kind of hitting around to it. Maybe we should actually talk about Star Wars. That sounds like a crazy notion. But real quick, Mike, you mentioned podcasts you listen to. What do you guys all listen to besides Coffee with Kenobi and the Cantina Cast?
I can't even think of any at the moment. That's unbelievable at the moment. The Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast. I can't even think of it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name either.
Yeah, I listen to Astronomy Cast. That's another one. What else do Nerdius. There's a bunch of them, and I can't even think of it. But that's a few of them. Anyway, I haven't really listened to any podcasts other than the ones I just mentioned, your podcast, Rebel Force Radio, and stuff like that. But that's about it. Because I'm like you guys, I'm Star Wars on the brain. It always creeps up and takes over everything else. So.
Oh yeah, Joel. What about you?
I used to listen to the Force Cast quite a bit, but that was actually quite a while ago, and that was back before Jimmy Mack was even on there. But I used to love to listen while the books were still coming out. I used to love to listen to the Muggle Cast, the Harry Potter podcast. Yes. I listened to that. I had a job where I was typing and I could listen to stuff. And if I wasn't listening to an audiobook, if they had a new episode out, I would listen to them all the time. Not so much anymore because that fandom is kind of, with no new information and stuff. It just doesn't. And that's the thing. I have you said about Star Wars and you always come back to it. And that's why I love Iron Man and Lord of the Rings and all this stuff. I just don't have the knowledge to make a podcast about it. You know what I mean? I think that I have enough. I've seen Star Wars enough and over the years, and I've seen how they evolved with it, as time goes on. I think I can speak maybe a little bit more knowledgeably about Star Wars than I could about anything else because I kind of know more of the history and everything. Anything else, I like other fandoms and stuff. I probably just wouldn't be a very knowledgeable host if I was talking about those things. So sure. Star Wars is probably the one that, because I have very many interests, but it's, some of them wane and then they come back. But Star Wars is always there. Corey,
what about you? What podcast do you like?
Well, of course, you guys mentioned Rebel Force Radio and Force Cast, and I also listen to Full of Sith. It's pretty good. Besides Star Wars stuff, IndieCast is a good one. Self-publishing podcast. A bunch of guys kind of like us just sit around and talk about self-publishing and whatnot, authors and stuff going on in that world. But not too many. Dan kind of got me the bug of the podcast bug as far as Star Wars stuff goes, and kind of just branched out from there. So it's all kinds of good stuff out there.
Sir, I am a podcast junkie. That's one of the reasons why we're doing one. But yeah. I love the Cantina Cast. I'm really proud of our show. I love Full of Sith. Mike Pilot is a friend of mine. He and I text a lot and chat, and he helped me with a lot of tips besides that as well. So we're hoping to have him on sometime. That's a great show. The Force Cast, I wasn't sure how the transition would go, but it's gone very well. I love the Film Talk, which is two guys. One guy's a professor of Duke, and the other guy, I can't remember his credentials, but the way they analyze film absolutely blows me out of the water. They are incredibly intelligent. I have to have a dictionary to listen to half the things they're talking about. I love the Superman homepage podcast. I listen to a bunch of Disney podcasts, including Inside the Magic, which talk about a well-produced show. My goodness. WDW Today. I'm a podcast fanatic. All right. Joe, you'd mentioned some, but let's just talk about the movies. What is it about? Are there certain memories in your life watching the Star Wars films that really stick out to you and kind of fuel that proverbial Star Wars fire?
I mean, I can say the first time that I just jumped out of my seat was I didn't get into Star Wars till a little bit later on. I was about 15, actually. I was born in 1982, so I wasn't really, I know everybody, they've got there where they were there in 77 and all that. I wasn't around. I couldn't go see the movie when it came out, and I was about maybe 6 months old when Return came out. So, right. And I was probably always a nerd, but I was more of a nerd about sports, actually, with statistics. And by 10 years old, I'd get up maybe an hour before I went to school. And it wasn't cartoons. I was watching Sports Center and stuff. So, but then about 15, when they re-released them in 1997, I went and I saw Star Wars, and I really liked it. It didn't immediately I was like, I got to know everything. Well, I got kind of sick with the flu, and then I was getting a little bit better, still a little bit. My mom said, well, do you want to go see that movie again? And I'll come with you. And I said, okay, yeah. So we went and saw it, and then by the second viewing of it, I was like, okay, well, I can't wait till next month when Empire comes out. Just take me to Blockbuster. Let me rent The Empire. And, I'm pretty sure I knew that Darth Vader was Luke's, even not being a fan at all and not actually have never even seen the movies. I think anybody knows that, even if you've never even seen Star Wars. So I knew that going in. What got me, I jumped out of my seat when he cut Luke's hand off. I didn't know that was coming, and I screamed.
Shocking.
And it was just because he's just this good, and you couldn't, to be wounded like that, it was so...
And honestly, when you're a kid, how often do you see your heroes lose a limb? I mean, I don't ever remember seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the one sticking point. And then, the next day, I went to return that movie, and I got Return. So, and then obviously, about the 6 months leading up to Revenge of the Sith, I was just... That's all I could talk about to anybody, even if they didn't care about Star Wars. That's all I would ever talk about. And I was 20, in my young 20s by then, and they were probably like, dude, shut up about this movie that comes out in 6 months. Who cares? But I was just completely obsessed with it at that point. So, it was those two things kind of stick out for me. And that was probably my anticipation level was just so high for the last movie that came out, and it was higher than just for an entertainment thing. It was easily the thing I've looked forward to the most in my entire life.
Well, what about you, Mike? What's your favorite memory or kind of your upbringing as far as Star Wars goes?
Well, I don't know where to start. Well, I guess we'll start from the beginning.
Sure.
When I was a wee youngin' back in the day, the only original one I saw in the theater was Return of the Jedi. I was 7 years old. But prior to that, I had seen Empire and A New Hope, well, Star Wars at the time, on TV somehow. I don't know how I saw it or whatever. But I remember my brother ruining the whole Empire, I am your father moment. And I was like, nah, I don't believe you. And then I finally saw it. I'm like, you ruined the whole thing for me.
Oh, jeez.
That's my older brother for me. Always ruining things for me. But anyway, so I went to Return of the Jedi, and I remember just seeing it on the big screen and that's the only way you can really see Star Wars to truly appreciate it. Of course, now we got our high def TVs, and they're the size of a movie theater anyway. But you should always go see it in the theater anyway. So I was with my mother, my father, my sister, my brother. We all went. I just remember the theater being so packed. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. I've never seen the movie packed like this. I didn't believe my brother. My brother used to tell me all the stories. The theater was all packed back in 76 or 77, excuse me, and all that stuff. So then, we saw it, and I'm all excited, and I'm just blown away by the effects and everything. And I remember that, the scene. It's cheesy now, but the whole time it means the most to me is when Luke confronts the Emperor and Vader, and they're all three of them there getting along and chatting and stuff. And I just remember the Emperor shooting Luke with the Force lightning. I'm like, and I'm looking at my dad. I'm like, how? That's his father. How is he letting this thing happen? What? Do something. I remember saying all these things, and then finally, I'm like, there's no way he can let Luke die. There's just no way. And I thought it was going to happen because it looked like, when you're 7 years old, I'm like, this is really going to happen. And then, Vader does the right thing, and the rest is history. And I remember that, and that moment just stuck out to me to always believe in the good in people. See, I found something there.
But absolutely. Redemption.
Exactly. So then you fast forward to like 97 or was it 98, 97 when the special editions came out. Actually, then we had the dark times where there was like nothing. You had the EU novels, but that didn't do anything for me, especially when you had a few goofy stories about the Emperor coming back and stuff. But anyway.
I know.
Yeah. Well, we won't dive into that this time. But so I remember they came out and I remember going in and watching, the movies in order and stuff. And I said, it's a little different because I'm older now. And I think I was just in college or getting out of college, whatever the hell I was doing. And I remember saying, there's more to Star Wars than, lightsabers and blasters. So then I got into philosophy, politics, the whole religion, theology, everything. So then from there, I just started, like I told you, Dan, I started reading all these other books on mythology and everything else. And that's always piqued my interest. So to me, that's why Star Wars means more than just, lightsabers and everything. That was the initial addiction, but it's evolved since I've gotten older. Now it's getting a little like you could have your own class if you really wanted to. I'd like to teach it myself.
I was going to say I'd love to teach that.
Yeah. So I'm definitely interested in that because not a lot of people have paid attention to the prequels because it's the prequels and that's like a sin to talk about. But there's a lot of history and knowledge and stuff to be gained from just the prequels themselves as the original trilogy. But anyway, Dan, you?
Yeah. The Star Wars memories I have are many. On the first show I talked about the first time I ever saw it at the drive-in. I remember when Empire first came out. I went, hard to believe that I actually would have done this, but I went and bought the novel, and I'm 10 years older than you, Joa, so when Empire came out, I was like 8 or 7 years old. I read through the Hoth battle, and I thought it was so cool, and then my mom came out on the porch and said, "Hey, you want to go see that movie you're reading?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes." So we went, and we had the beta tape. That's how old I am. I had the actual beta tape of A New Hope. And so it cost $100. Can you imagine that? $100 to buy a video? Wow. So again, and the WoW is probably, oh my gosh, Dan is old.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm not the oldest here. Wow.
No, you're definitely not.
Well, especially $100 back then, which, inflation's come a long way. I mean, that would be like it costing $300 or something now.
Yeah, I actually have a calculator with inflation, and it turns out it would cost $10 billion. So that's a lot.
You're really old.
I know, man. Yeah, so we went and saw Empire, loved it. I actually was the bad older brother, and before Jedi came out, I read all the way to when Yoda passed away. Spoiler alert for those of you who have not seen a movie since 1983. And so my brother has never forgiven me for that. I remember I saw Return of the Jedi opening day. We saw the second showing of it. I was already out of school. My brother wasn't yet, so he and his friends met us. We saw Jedi, and similar to what Mike's experiences were in there, people were clapping and cheering every time a new character showed up, and I thought that was incredible. I knew Star Wars was something special, but a lot of my Star Wars movies are kind of related to the next topic, and that's the favorite Star Wars memories in fandom. So I'm going to go reverse now. Corey, I'm going to ask you, bud, what are some of your favorite Star Wars memories in fandom?
I remember playing with the original action figures at my cousin's house and jamming the characters inside the Tauntauns and just having a good old time and playing the Millennium Falcon. And I remember going over there all the time, and that was like we went directly to his room, got his toys out, and played with them all the time. And like I said, was my first experience as far as the movies go. Like I watched it on VHS. I think we recorded it off television, and we had it recorded. So I remember watching it over and over again and wearing it out, basically. But as far as fandom goes, I mean, I read a lot of the books. I know that was a big part of it for me. They weren't all that great, but it was something to get a hold of at the time. As far as fandom though goes, I mean, we didn't have the internet in the 90s and whatnot, and we really couldn't connect to other fans and stuff. But I just loved the series in general. I mean, it was just everything together was just awesome. I mean, I didn't have the original. I didn't grow up with the toys or anything like that, so I was kind of like Joe was kind of like coming in late. But you're just like, what is this amazing saga? And I've watched it, gotten older, and kind of come to love it as far as like, oh my gosh, this holds up. I mean, some of my favorite memories are with my own kids. Just watch the movies, and like you guys said, having the Vader reveal and stuff like that. And I think that's amazing for a saga or a series like this to be able to just transcend generations. And I love the fandom now because we can get on the internet, we can converse and go to conventions and just, dive into topics we love to talk about. So I think as far as fandom goes, I love it. I love going online and look at all this stuff people do and people, how they promote it. And it's a unique stuff. Even like we're talking about the podcasting. Podcasting in general is just like, it's great to sit down and listen to all these folks and talk about their different topics, their opinions, and it's a lot of fun. So, Mike, what are your fandom experiences or memories?
Well, actually, it's fairly new for me because now I'm a father of a 2-year-old little girl, and I'm hoping to pass on the torch, and I think I am because I remember when she was first born, I bought a little stuffed at, and that's why Empire. I was just thinking, Dan, when you were talking about Empire Strikes Back somehow, you know what? It was worth that $100 because you got to see at-ats. That's what matters. So to me, I love the at-ats. It's like one of my favorite things of all time, the walking giant camels. But so. She actually got one of her first words. It wasn't her first word, but she'd run around. She'd see the at and she'd say at, and then I'm bringing her downstairs. I had this big picture of Boba Fett falling in the Starlock pit and stuff like that, and he's shooting his flame and stuff like that. And I was walking her downstairs to go take my dog out at the time, and she said Boba Fett. Like all these little things. So all those things are like my.
No
fandom.
wonder you love Boba Fett.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there you go. I love him even more now. So it's just me passing it. I'm looking forward to, she's going to be about 5 when the movie comes out. So she's not going to really get it quite yet, but I'm looking forward to sitting down and watching all the movies. I haven't figured out how I'm going to show them yet. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but that's the big thing.
On that. That's a show for another time, I'd say.
Yeah. So my favorite moment is probably when I get to pass the torch on to my daughter. Hopefully I think she'll go with it. I hope she does. And then, that'll probably be my favorite fan moment at the moment.
Pass on what you have learned. Save you it can.
Exactly.
So Joa, your favorite Star Wars memories and fandom?
I guess actually when I got into writing some fan fiction, I guess, and that was leading up to that moment I talked about, those months leading up to Revenge of the Sith and then the months after Revenge of the Sith. And I don't know if y'all have ever been in the Star Wars fan fiction at all, but it was really I think at the top of its popularity, those, that 6 months leading in to Revenge of the Sith. And it had been picking up through the prequels and I was on the Force.net's forums and their fan fiction, and I started posting some stories. And I think my first one I posted was about an original character named Xanthos. And basically it was before the saga, which has never been the most popular time era of Star Wars for fanfic readers. But so that one didn't get a whole lot of response. And then and I love Darth Vader, and I loved, everybody could say what they want about Hayden Christensen. I was into the whole him and Padme. I was into it. I was they say shipping or whatever for him. I was a shipper for Anakin and Padme, and I was probably in the minority. There was a few other guys writing that, but most of them, you were surrounded by a bunch of women, and they would read it, and you would get 30 or 40 responses sometimes to a chapter that you would write. And you go back and read them now, and it's the stuff I wrote. It's awful stuff, but it was fun to do it. And that's how, and that's actually where I met my wife. So was on that board and through her fan fiction and my fan fiction. And yeah, we lived 750 miles away. And that's so, amazing. Like I said, that was the connection for us was always, so it was just the whole time period and being on there, the fan fiction and everything that was going along with the movie. Right. That makes sense. For me, I appreciate all of you sharing that stuff. And Star Wars is a personal thing for fans. I don't know of any other fan base that has the kind of passion and will go to the extremes that we as Star Wars fans will to demonstrate our fandom. And it seems to be it's typically rooted into a part of our history as people and our families, and our extended families as we get older, and just friendships. I mean, the friendships we had, the four of us have, and just the Star Wars community. Because memories and fandom, for me, pretty much tie into, and I think it's cool that we all have different backgrounds as far as our fandom goes. Some of us come to it later in life, some of us come to it earlier. I've never seen much fan fiction, so to hear Joe talk about that is pretty cool. I know Tricia is big into that. For me, my fandom is all about collecting. I'm a huge collector. I've got more stuff than I'm could probably talk about. We're adding onto our home, and I'm going to have an office where I'm going to do the show, and I'll have all my Star Wars stuff out. Well, actually, that's not true. I will have a fraction of all my Star Wars stuff off, and I hope to rotate it in and out, kind of like a museum. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's how my office is. So I'm sure. Well, I want to see pictures of that, Mike, because maybe you can inspire me how to design it.
It's a work in progress. It's always going to be a work in progress. You're never going to be happy and satisfied with it. So you're just going to have to keep tinkering around with it. So
I know, and I'm sure dusting is a nightmare. But
yes, it is.
Oh, yeah. So besides the collecting, I remember when Kenner started phasing out the collection, I would still go to Toys R Us and go to the discount areas and just buy any figures I could. I still have some of them in packages. And then nothing happened for a while, and then Zahn's novel came out, and I was pretty adamant that I didn't want to have anything to do with it because it wasn't the movie and it wasn't canon. But
that's how I felt.
Don't start on that.
Yeah, no kidding. But then I should do a show about that. Oh, we did. So then I just read it anyway, and I loved it. I read all three. And then back around 95 is when Hasbro started re-releasing the figures, and Luke and Vader looked a little more like Arnold Schwarzenegger than themselves. Yeah. But I probably bought every figure for about 3 years straight. Every single figure. I went to toy conventions all over the state of Illinois trying to get stuff. And then episode 1 came out. I went to the midnight premiere of that. I went to Target and Walmart and Toys R Us from like 11:30 at night till 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I was nuts. I went around getting everything. Episode 2, I kind of died down because I don't know if any of you guys have heard this, but episode 1 really split fans quite a bit. So
yeah, it was kind of a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. So when episode 2 came out, I bought figures, but nowhere like I did then. And then episode 3 came out, and I just went wild again and went and got everything that I possibly could. Shortly after that, Joe had talked about the message boards on the Force.net. I was really into StarWars.com's message boards, and that's how I met my friends in the organization Geeks Helping Geeks, which Corey and I are going to talk about a lot in a future show. And they're just collectors, basically, and we live all over the country, all over the world, and if we can't find something and someone else in another area of the globe can, then we buy them and mail them to the other person, and they pay us back. And actually similar to something that Joe and I are doing for the 12-inch Christmas Yoda that's coming out pretty soon. And just all tied into that. And then podcasting. Star Wars just speaks to so many things. There's so many family things that I could talk about, different things that's impacted me as a Star Wars fan and my family. And actually, I remember as a kid, one of the few times I can remember my family, including my father, being together and being happy is when we were watching Star Wars. Let's talk about our favorite upcoming event.
Oh, this is Joe's favorite.
Oh, it really is?
Oh, yeah. Joe, I'm going to let you take this one.
All right, hit it, buddy. You're a celebration guy.
Yeah, well, I started planning. I wanted to plan stuff before they even announced the thing, So
I know. I think.
So I mean, of course, I was like calling it. I was like, they're gonna announce it like the last day of Europe, and it's so far away though. But there's so many things that you want to do. A night before thing, like get together with everybody, instead of trying to meet on the convention floor and stuff, everybody that you're networked with and through Twitter or Facebook and everybody just, getting together. I don't know where a local cantina probably would be a personal favorite of mine, but
possibly a coffee shop or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, it's so far away, though. I mean, you can't even buy a plane ticket right now. It's hard to logically think about it in a way. Like, you hate to start planning that far out because it just seems kind of obsessive at that point. No, but there's things that have run through my mind. I was like, we've got to have the shirts made. I want a shirt, and every different, all the different I want a certain logo on it, and I want a different color of the logo for like every day I'm there. And
that's awesome.
I was like, we got to have the business cards. We got to be networking. We got to talk to everybody. That's what I'm talking about it all the time. Yeah, I'm talking about it all the time.
Joey, you're in charge of marketing of the Cantina Cast, just so you know.
Oh, yeah. I guess in a way I've, sometimes right. I am. So
yeah, well, you just got promoted. So there you go.
I want to be. I hope so. I don't like the traveling bit of it. If I could just get there and like be, okay, I'll be completely anal the entire time. I'll be like, okay, I got to get back on the plane at this time. Everything will be planned out in my head. It'll be really, really bad. But hopefully, besides all that, I'll still be able to have a really good time.
I agree with Joe. I think Celebration 7 is going to be my first celebration. Before that, very much. And I'm just like you, Joe. I'll sit here and I'm writing itineraries as far as, okay, I'm going to do this and that, just because... Just the way I am, but I'm looking forward to it. I mean, also with the movies coming out, it makes it even more of that so exciting because we have films coming out, and we also have, like I said, the Rebels animated series is coming out. It's going to be so much packed into one little convention that it's really going to take on a whole new meaning because of the films. Because I think it wouldn't be as big if the films were not coming out. But
no doubt.
I think I would probably still go and have a good time. But I think it just ups the ante. Getting brand new Star Wars films. We've all just talked about our favorite memories. We all revert back to the films and how much we love the films. It's all about that. I mean, getting new films and then getting a whole convention based on this saga and this brand new stuff that's coming out. It's just like I don't know what you want to call it. It's the euphoria of fandoms. It's just
Definitely.
So it's definitely the top event in my head. So,
well, I mean, when you think about it too, I mean, just the fact that you're the one who broke the news to me that Disney bought Lucasfilm and that Episode 7 was coming out, so it's reignited everyone's fandom. Everybody's going berserk, and rightfully so. This is an amazing thing.
It's really going to go down in history. I mean, that sounds stupid, but I mean, it really will.
No, it's true. Fandom.
Because like we all talking about, we all got started Star Wars at different levels. And it's different for every generation. And people, that are just getting old now, like you said, Mike, your daughter's bringing up Star Wars. She's probably going to be into possibly the Rebels show since it's the newest thing in her area. Yeah. And always the new films. And everybody's got their moment in time. They either like the prequels, don't like the prequels, and that's just how you kind of are brought up with it. And it's just like, as far as culture goes, it's huge. It's massive. And like we all said, that's one of the biggest franchises in the history of the world. And it's, worldwide. And I really can't think of anything else other than, obviously Star Trek or something like that. That's like the general populace of the world.
Probably. Yeah,
that's true.
I think, Mike, I want you to go first because I'm interested to hear what you had to say. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, well, my favorite upcoming moment is the movie themselves, as Corey was saying. I mean, this is like the big thing. This is what we've been waiting for almost 30 years, is Episode 7 and beyond, So I'm looking forward to that. What I would love to happen, which would probably be impossible to do, is somehow if we could get like all the fan sites and podcasts and that into one theater and just all watch it.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I would love to do that and then just have like a giant panel or something after or whatever it may be. But yeah, so something like that. I'm looking for that, and obviously Celebration. I'm looking forward to that because we finally get to meet my co-host. Probably, hopefully before then, but you never know. Probably will be then, and you guys and Mark and everybody, I'm sure in the universe will be there. And it'll be just so cool. As like Corey was saying, when we go there, you're gonna have there's gonna be some kind of a trailer for Episode 7, I imagine. I imagine there'll be something for Rebels and who knows beyond that. You know what I mean? We'll finally maybe we'll get a trailer for the spinoff as well. So there's gonna be like a million things hitting us all at once. It's a really good time to be a Star Wars fan. This makes up for the dark ages, that we had.
It does.
All those times. So that's my favorite upcoming thing, is just to see the movie and see what happens, because I'm interested in the mythology of it all and how it's going to play out and see where we go from there. So
I love it. I think too that for some reason when we're talking about favorite upcoming events, I didn't even think about saying Episode 7 until Mike had said that, which seems like, that's the best answer because that is the catalyst for all of this. I'm extremely excited about Celebration Anaheim, Celebration 7, the next celebration, whatever you want to call it, because I get to meet Joe, I get to meet Mike, I get to meet Tricia, I get to meet Mark, I get to meet a lot of different people, and who knows, in the next couple of years, guys, who we're all going to come into contact with and make connections with, it's going to be a blast. It's going to be amazing, and just doing that is great. Even like when I'm grading papers, I'm thinking, all right, okay, I'm going to have to grade the same test next year, and then I'll be closer to going to Celebration Anaheim. And I think of that stuff every single day. Like every time, okay, I'm a day closer. I got to pace myself because when you get so excited about something, by the time it gets there, you can't enjoy it because you're just so busy catching up on being excited. So I don't want to do that. I did that for Episode 1, and that was a mixed bag for another show.
Well, here's the problem we got with this Episode 7 coming out. I remember watching Fanboys, and then, they're in the theater or whatever it is, and the movie's about to start, and the guy turns to him and says, "What if this sucks?"
Yeah.
Because here's the problem with Episode 1. It was never going to live up to the expectations that all of us had. Yeah. And I'm afraid Episode 7 is going to have the same problem.
I'm wondering about that. I think that I'm hoping that people are older now and have been through that process and understand it's a different thing. It's a different world. It's a different director. We're actually going to have a strong, solid script. I'm sort of hoping that's not going to happen because whatever happens, my favorite upcoming event is what we're doing right now. I mean, it really is because every time there's a nugget of news, look at how much material is on all these shows for rumors. Just being able to talk about the real news and being able to post on the site and Facebook and Twitter and Corey and I texting all day talking about it and talking to you guys online and through podcasts and all the speculation and the excitement, there is nothing like it. And my hope and Corey's hope is that as this goes on, we'll get our names out there more and more in the Star Wars community, and we'll be able to be a big part of all the exciting things that are going on, because when Celebration 7 is here, Rebels will have been out for a year. Yep. We'll have already probably seen a trailer, or at least gotten close to a trailer. We'll have some sort of titles in mind. The future is so bright, brighter than Tatooine's twin suns, to be honest. So my favorite upcoming event is just talking to Corey and making our show and just getting in touch with the fan community about all the great things going on in the Star Wars universe.
I'll just throw in real quick that, everybody's mentioned Episode 7 and how it's the catalyst for everything and everything that we're doing right now. I know me and Mike, wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if Disney does not buy, and then they say Episode 7, Episode 8, Episode 9, we're doing it. And I don't think we'd be talking with you guys right now at this second if Episode 7 wasn't coming out.
Undoubtedly. Let's raise our coffee mugs. Mine's starting to get empty. Let's have a toast to Episode 7 at Disney buying Lucasfilm, because exactly like Joe said, that's why we're all here. That's why we're doing this. There you go. All right, so this is going to be hard for me to bring up and not break our cardinal rule. But I don't know. There are a lot of Episode 7 rumors out here. Do we hate them? Do we say bring them on? And you guys talked a lot about this on your last show, and everyone should definitely download their most recent Cantina Cast, because they do a great job discussing rumors and all things going on in a lot of awesome detail. But overall, guys, how do you feel about the state of Star Wars fandom and news these days?
Joe, I'll let you take this one, because this is one that really irks you.
Well, the problem, I think, is it gets down to misinformation. I don't mind rumors at their core, I guess. I guess maybe I do, but I wouldn't have as much of a problem with it. And we saw a lot of when we were doing our Star Wars: The Old Republic coverage, it was just a lot of misinformation. One person says this, and then it just takes off from there. And you feel like, it felt like sometimes some of the podcasts, we were just constantly trying to correct some of the things we were seeing on the internet. We're saying, no, that's not the way it's going to be, this, that, or the other. That's not, the official stance. It's not. And that's where I say, it's like, where is the rumor coming from? I think is the first thing we have to look at. Whatever rumor it is, if it's a casting rumor or a title rumor or whatever it is like, where is this coming from? Is it a site that we know has maybe has some validity? Maybe they've said something in the past and it's come true. So maybe we can take, a little bit more to that. Or is it, like the Badass Digest that I will keep harping on, because they've already come out with one rumor that was just, it was already proven false. And then they come out with the one about, I believe it was the December release date or something. And then another, then the other sites jump on and say, well, maybe it's coming out then. And then there's all this speculation. That's where I just get it. Is just, I just don't like the misinformation, because then people say, well, it's not coming out till December. That makes a lot of sense. And then because I think some people, they don't see the news every day like we do. We're not there. And I think that's what I hate, is for the fans that only check in weekly or monthly. They're more the casual fans, but they'll be there for opening night, and they'll buy it on DVD, but they're not keeping up with every single second of Star Wars news. And I hate it for those people, because I think that maybe they take things to heart when they shouldn't. So, I think that there is a completely different realm of speculation and rumor. That those are two completely different words, and they mean two completely different things to me anyway. So, sure. At this point, I'm a little tired of all the rumors, because I just don't think that. I think that all it is just, let's throw something on the wall, and if something finally sticks, and hey, that actually happened, then it's like, oh yeah, well, we told you that was going to happen. So sure. I think there's some of that out there right now, and people are trying to break stories or get the scoop when there is no scoop to be had, but they're just, because you're going to forget about the fake rumors to some extent. But if somebody gets something right, oh, well, we got that right. So,
well, and that's the thing too. You mentioned throwing something on the wall and seeing if it sticks, which is exactly how I feel about all this stuff. I'm tired of it, and I don't know about you guys. I think the diehard fans are going to be with it no matter what. But I would think, like in the entertainment industry, the entertainment world, the casual fans that you mentioned, sometimes I think this could have a negative impact I mean, the movie's still going to be great. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to go crazy here, but I think for a while some people will be like happy that the announcements come out so they don't have to think about Star Wars for a while, for about a year or so, until the movie comes out and the hype generates again. Because we Star Wars fans can get pretty obnoxious. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. A friend of mine just sent me a message that he knows somebody who was dressed up as Darth Maul in a drugstore, and he saw Carrie Fisher. And he walked up to Carrie Fisher in his full Darth Maul garb and asked for her autograph, and she didn't want to be bothered because she was just doing her thing in Walgreens, trying to be a private citizen. And then I guess he ran outside and screamed, "Carrie Fisher's in here, come get her autograph." But see, that's the kind of stuff that I think puts Star Wars fans in an extremely negative light. It's that kind of mongering that goes on that I think can dilute it. It's not going to dilute anything for me. You know, when the movie comes out, it's going to come out in Christmas, it's going to come out in the summer. They're going to release it on Apple TV first. I don't really care. Let's just take our time. Let's make a quality film that everyone is happy with, that appeases to the mythology of the series, and let's just move on. Because I'd be more than happy to actually look at Twitter for a week or so and not see any rumors or speculation. Right now they've got supposedly the title out there. I find it really ridiculous.
I agree. I almost feel like we need to shut the internet off.
Yes, please.
Well, here's the other thing too. I think about too. You want a quality film. You want a quality designs. You want the whole shebang. And we might get it. We might not get it. We'll have to wait and see. But I think the person who is probably most upset is probably J.J. Abrams, or maybe Lucasfilm themselves, because they're probably like, man, we have to contend with all these rumors.
You think so?
Oh yeah, I think.
You don't think they're loving it? They've got all this free publicity. They aren't spending a dime. They're not even telling us anything.
Right, but I'm saying, don't they want to sit down and focus on making a quality film? They don't. I mean, they're going to worry about publicity when it comes out. You know, the trailer comes out, and they start announcing actors and things like that. But like before Episode 1, we didn't have a whole lot of speculation as far as the internet. The internet wasn't as rumor milled as it is now. I mean, like you said, we could jump on there in 20 minutes. There'll be a brand new rumor on some actor or some. They're not using this type of film or whatever. We're fans and we love and hate ourselves because we do dive into this. We read it all the time. We can't help it. J.J. Abrams and them are probably obviously they're keeping everything tightly closed and they're going to release it when they want to. Still, I think they're probably trying to keep everything so closed up and secret, but it's probably difficult for them because I'm sure there's all the people that are working on the production want to leak stuff out and
Sure.
like you said, they want to be those people that say, oh, we got it first, or we we let it out first, or just for whatever reason, just to feel that tickle.
Don't you just want to scream on the top of your house? Who cares? Leave us alone.
Yeah.
Well, I think that they think that does something for their validity, or they're going to get more hits because people are going to go to them first now because they're the authority on this news. But I just want to say about, is it irking Lucasfilm or whatever? When it irks them, because it did irk them already once.
Yeah.
When they said Abrams was thinking about leaving Episode 7, and it was like 3 hours later they just said no. So they just dropped the hammer on that. So if something really bothers them, they're going to come out and say no. So anything too ridiculous, they're going to come out and say no. Anything else, they're just going to let people speculate.
Oh, definitely. Mike, do you want to address this at all? What do you think?
Well, I'm like you guys. I think a lot of people. I'm kind of tired of it. I'm tired of people just like saying it and just going with it instead of like I don't want to toot our own horn, but I'm going to, at this one point, I hate tooting our horn because we're kind of humble and we don't want to get a big head. But at this point, I just want to point out we had a show where I had my own casting call where I named a bunch of people that could play Jaina Solo.
But that was fun. You weren't taking yourself seriously.
Correct. But I prefaced it with saying this is what I think they should do and not saying this is what they're going to do. I was just throwing things out there and if it came true, that'd be great for me. But people, on these sites, they just come out and say this could happen or that could happen, blah, 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 blah. Who cares? I don't even like that you report on half the stuff that you report on. That's like, this is what they're going to use for film or Carrie Fisher was drunk on a cruise or something like that. Sure. I don't care about that. That doesn't mean anything.
Mike, the type of speculation we like to do on the show is, what if Han dies in Episode 7?
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
That's the type of stuff. What would that mean for the movie? What would that is that the kind of passing the torch that the movie needs? That's what we talk about. That's what I wanted to just bring up really quick, was just what I think the difference between speculation is having a discussion about what could happen in the movies and then breaking it down and just saying rumors and trying to report news. And then I think that's what I meant by the difference between rumors and speculation.
Oh yeah, and there's a huge difference. It's something that we're going to be talking about for a while. And you know what? When there's news, because J.J. Abrams is behind the reins, we're not going to know until it's official. There's not going to be, guess what's going to happen? Because when Lucasfilm was purchased, when J.J. Abrams came on board, those were all things that happened, and they happened. There was no warning. And that's what's going to happen for Episode 7.
I can imagine like the casting is going to be announced, and it'll be blindsided one day. We'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It won't be like, they were going to announce on this day or whatever. They'll just say, oh, by the way, here you go.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And then we'll have a big podcast. That's all.
Oh, you bet we will. And I think the order. And last time I predicted this, I was way off. But I think what we're going to see is we're going to see stuff about Clone Wars. We're going to start hearing a lot of hype building up about Rebels. There'll be a title. We'll get a trailer. That's kind of how I expect it's going to happen.
Yeah, am I just speaking about Episode 7 as far as we're talking about who could be casted for roles or whatever? I'm actually more excited, and I've said this a million times. I'm actually more excited to see what the names are of these characters that they're casting for. Like, not actually who they might put in the role. I want to know that some of these names that even if you aren't a big EU fan, it's like why. I think that the Jedi and things that they've kind of subtly said that the younger Jedi in this movie are going to at least one or two of them are at least going to be Han and Leia's kid. That they're going to be a main character in the movie. Whether there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, we don't know, and it's up in the air whether they will make Luke have a kid because I think George, and it is his treatment. We have to remember. I would just say that I don't think he was a big fan of Luke getting married and having the kid and everything. So I think that's where I'm still up in the air about. But I think it's safe to say with Han and Leia having the kids, I'm just interested. Will they keep those names from the EU as a homage? That's one of the things I'm more interested in than whether it's Ryan Gosling is the Luke's son or is whoever's cast. We're going to grow to love them or maybe hate them, depending on your point of view at the end of the day. It doesn't, whether it's an unknown actor or a known actor, every actor out there has been in bad movies. They've all probably been in some good movies, but every one of them's been in some bad movies. So, and people want to harp on whatever they've seen. There's more, I don't like Robert Pattinson because he was in Twilight. Well, he's also done some other movies where he probably wasn't as bad or in that opinion that he was bad. So, I mean, I don't know. That's more the perspective I'm taking on it.
And I care about, and I've heard a lot of some people complaining about Ryan Gosling, and he's obviously not in it. He said he's not, but the guy is a great actor. You want great actors in Star Wars movies. You don't want somebody who doesn't really know what they're doing or they're not really comfortable in their own skin imagining what happens in a science fiction universe. So you want great actors. I don't care who is in it. I don't care who from the prequel or the original trilogy is in it. I don't care who's in it. Weird Al Yankovic could be in it. As long as they're good in the role, that's what we're going to care about. Plus, aren't the action figures going to be awesome? Corey, what about you?
Yeah, I was going to say, I got two thoughts on that. I would agree with you, Dan and Joe. And
on Weird Al or the other?
No. Well, I think they should cast actors that we've either never heard of or are very, out of limelight type thing. Because look at the original trilogy. I mean, Mark Hamill wasn't really established. There was
neither was Harrison Ford.
Right, and Carrie Fisher either. I mean, and then obviously the big names they had, Alec Guinness was right, and then Tarkin. I can't think of his.
Peter Cushing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Only somebody said that earlier.
Yeah, well, and just a funny factoid for those out there who don't know, is Francis Ford Coppola urged George Lucas not to cast that way and to cast big stars like he did in the Godfather movies.
Yeah, which worked out pretty well, too. Distinguished stage actors with British accents. That's the way to go.
And my second point has got to be, if Benedict Cumberbatch comes on, I mean, come on. He's a shoo-in for any. I don't care if he just comes off the screen for 2 minutes and talk. That's fine with me. I think he's a great actor. He'd be a great weight to have to the new trilogy. But I mean, like I said, it's still rumors, so I'm not gonna. That's all I'm gonna say.
And Bonnie Burton, if you guys heard the last Force Cast, she's like a Benedict Cumberbatch fanatic. So I don't even know if she's ever listened to one single second of either of our shows. But I'm sure she's doing cartwheels saying, yeah, because she likes him.
She's on my Facebook, and she's always putting something up on my feed.
Oh, yeah,
I always see something coming up, and it's funny. I always laugh when I see it.
Kevin Bacon's been in every movie, but I think she's put him in every movie.
He'd be great in Star Wars, couldn't he?
He'd be great. And she's a lot of fun. She'd be somebody fun to have on the show to talk about this stuff as well, because she knows her stuff, and heck, she used to work for Lucasfilm.
True.
So, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up our coffee chat. It's the first one we've ever done. So, gentlemen, as you know, every time we have our distinguished guests on, and you two are certainly among the tops here, we have 5 questions that we like to ask each of our guests, similar to James Lipton's Inside the Actor Studio. And these are just one-word, one-sentence responses, but we wanted to get your take on these 5 questions. So, Corey, I'll go ahead and let you ask the first one.
Sure. We'll start with Mike. Mike, your favorite Star Wars movie?
Well, you're probably not going to allow this, but I see it as all one big saga. So I just say the Star Wars saga.
There you go.
Both versions of Clone Wars. But if you're going to twist my arm, I will say Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
Joa?
You didn't ask what I thought the best movie was. You're asking the favorite, so I'm going to say Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, it's interesting that we don't say best, do we?
Yeah, I mean, best
favorite.
There is a difference.
It's a relative term.
I think that there's one that's I think one is better than another, but for other reasons, it's my favorite.
Favorite is just something that it just speaks to you for whatever reason.
Well, it's favorite. You could watch it, over and over again. Trapped on an Island, you watch it over and over again. That's what I think.
I like that. So Revenge of the Sith for you, Joa?
Yes.
So that's the best movie, the prequels. All right, gentlemen, Mike, we'll start with you. Your favorite character?
Luke Skywalker. So you thought I was going to say Boba Fett, but it's Luke.
No, I remember.
All right.
Joa?
Darth Vader and R2-D2.
Man, you got to pick one.
No, he did that last time. That's good. That's good.
All right.
If I had to pick one, it would be Darth Vader.
Because you said that, what do you say, what percentage?
If you add both of them together, they're 5% machine.
Yes.
I love that. That was awesome.
I'll allow it.
There you go. Judges, there you go.
Very good. All right, favorite line of dialogue or film moment?
I guess I'll go. I'm a Jedi like my father before me.
Ooh, nice.
And that goes in with the whole moment of, they're all, Luke's facing the Emperor and Vader and that stuff, as I touched on earlier. But go ahead, Joa.
Oh, gosh. Oh, my gosh. There's so many. One that I seem to always, I don't know if it's my favorite or not, but as far as dialogue, the one that I always repeat when I'm walking around the house and talking to myself is, "You will not stop me. Darth Vader will become more powerful than either of us."
That's very good.
That's really good. If you collect, what is your favorite collectible that you own?
Mine would be version 2 of Return of the Jedi, Luke Skywalker's lightsaber hilt.
Oh, you have that, the master replica?
I do, sir. I do.
Oh, very impressive. Most impressive.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Joa?
I'd have to go with I've got the Darth Vader Master, I think it was when Master Replica was still making them, the FX Darth Vader lightsaber. I actually bought that. That was like my wife's main Christmas present one year. So I have that up on top of the everything else. So yeah, that.
Corey, you're up.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you guys, are you going to bring your lightsabers to Celebration 7?
No. I might.
I don't plan on
they'll break.
I'd love the cosplay sometime. Like I would actually probably really love that. But for this event, I'm going to be like official Cantina Cast person. So I'm going to be doing the Cantina Cast shirt. So that FX lightsaber, you can't. This is the one you can't break apart or anything. So that would probably be Peter Mayhew actually almost got his cane taken away in the
airport.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to mess with it. We'll just leave it to gather dust on top of the cabinet there. So
I'm going to convince you to dress as Han Solo, and I'm going to be Greedo. That's what's going to happen when we go. And we're going to do a show that way, and we're going to sit across each other, and you can shoot me in the end. But go ahead.
You just. But who knows who's going to shoot first? It depends on who's telling the story.
We'll go with Han.
There you go. I agree.
Yeah.
All right, Corey, go ahead. Last question.
What particular message or theme about Star Wars saga resonate or speak to you?
Oh, there's so many of them, but I would say, like I touched on earlier, redemption of Anakin. As we all struggle with our dark side and our light side, and he obviously went the wrong path there. But then his son believed in him and believing in the good in everybody, and I believe in that. That's what hits me the most, I think.
This is a little bit more, it's not a broad, because I think when you ask this question, maybe you say a theme, that's kind of a broad thing. I'm going to say actually Darth Vader or Anakin, both of them, I think at the end of the day, I think that he wants family so much. With his mother, he missed her. With Padme, when he says, I could destroy him and we could rule the galaxy together. Then he says the same thing to Luke in Empire, we can rule the galaxy as father and son. He doesn't want anything, he doesn't want power just for him to have the power. He wants somebody to share it with. And I think that that's always just been something that stuck out to me about him. And he really, I mean, at the end of the day, he's a mass murderer of millions of people across a fictional galaxy, but I think he's a family guy at the end of the day.
Which flush chokes his wife, but hey, we can look the other way.
We did go to the dark side, like you said, but he wanted her there, and I've had conversations with this. We think if Padme would have, this is a conversation for another day, but if Padme would have went along with it there on Mustafar, I don't think that he would be the emperor. I think she would be the empress, and he would kind of be just in that same role. He'd be the muscle, and he'd let her be the political thing. But obviously, she would have never gone along with it. But then, and then, like I say, with Luke, he wanted the same thing. I think that's what he always wanted. He wanted a family. He wanted to be a Jedi, and he wanted to be a great Jedi, but I think more than that, and he never realized it until it was way too late, that the thing he really wanted was family.
Sounds like some good fan fiction.
I agree. Oh. I definitely have to disagree. There's no way that Padme would have done that. I don't think. She'd rather die. What?
Well, I agree that she would have never done it. I'm just speaking theoretically.
I see.
If you spread rumors, sir? You're spreading rumors.
That's what actually happened in the original script. No.
Right. And, well, guys, thank you so incredibly much for being the first guest on our coffee chat. We had a great time conversing with you, as we always do.
Thanks a lot, guys, for coming in and talking to us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, on behalf of the Cantina Cast, just thanks for having us on. And if anybody does want to check us out and go back and listen into the episode that you two were on, it's a couple episodes ago for us, episode 34. You can find that on our iTunes or our Libsyn, and if that's the episode you want to listen to because you want to listen to what these two guys had to say, and then if you enjoyed listening to us, you can check out all our other episodes there. You can get us on iTunes or Facebook.com/The Cantina Cast, or you can communicate with us there or on Twitter at The Cantina Cast.
And definitely check them out. They're already linked all over our Coffee with Kenobi website, and we will continue to do so with this one as well. So check out the Cantina Cast for Mike and Joa's awesomeness. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
If you would like to respond to our question of the show, have a comment, or just want to say hello, send us an email at feedback@coffeewithkenobi.com. Or if you have a specific question or comment for either of us individually, email us at danz@coffeewithkenobi.com or coryc@coffeewithkenobi.com. Or visit us at coffeewithkenobi.com and click on the comments section. If you enjoy the show, please write a review on iTunes. You can also like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi, as well as keep up to date at our Twitter feed at twitter.com/coffeewithkenobi. You can also listen to the show on Stitcher.com. If you enjoyed the jazz music, download the album Eye to Eye by Steve Torok on iTunes.
Give the evacuation code signal.
That's it for show number 5 of Coffee with Kenobi. Thanks to everyone who contributed to this week's show, and to all of you out there who listen to our show. Don't forget to send us your comments and opinions on the topic for show number 6, the Coffee with Kenobi discussion regarding Star Wars, the special edition. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Ltd. and is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at starwars.com. Star Wars, all names and sounds and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
Found the podcast you were looking for, I would say.
There's no one here. Move along. Move along.
Sweet pickles.